This is Freya's 2007 Nissan Navara, and obviously the chassis snapped in half. So rather than just fix it like any normal person, we've decided to sit it on the floor. Which brings us to now, when we're going to turn this D40 into the D40. Oh, that's the worst thing I've ever said.
The D40?
Now, these arms are at a horrendous angle, so the first thing we're going to do is jack it up, take the wheels off, take the arms off, and shorten the spindles. Well, that's the plan anyway. This is all stripped down, so what I've done is basically I've marked the highest point I could cut, and then I've gone down 2 inches because that's what I'm going to take out. So I shall snip this off, then measure up from there from all my cutting places, so it is exactly the same. Cut the extra 2 inch out, and then drop that back on there and weld it back on. Now, like I say, I think these are going to be temporary. And make new ones out of sheet metal, but that'll be further down the line because that can actually be done when the truck is all completely back together. But my main issue now, my main goal, is to get bags and all that sort of shit on. So, let's get on with it.
Lock in, lights, camera, action, telly, it's a top 10. Lock in, lights, camera, action, I don't fold a thing when it's time to win. Cause we're rolling under lights, we don't get anxious. Do it with a purpose, we don't do it to be famous. Really, they been hating cause they ain't us. Rockin' and get dangerous.
Now, these are all welded. I have just done a route and then 2 passes on it. Like I say, these are just for mock-up, basically. Absolute furthest they'll go is potentially to the end of the road and back, just to see if all the geometry and everything's all right, but I doubt they'll even go that far. Because the plan is to fab these from sheet, just because I want to, really. I just want to try it. And I think it will be fairly simple, because the caliper and wheel bearing on the inside are all on a fairly similar plane. So you could essentially have your one up right there with just these tabs machined. Build the sides on with the top and the bottom ball joint, which I think would be a pretty cool thing to try and do on the channel. So let me know if you want to see that. And we'll look at that when the time comes. And now I'll probably, it's a little bit of a waste of time, but I'll probably put both wheels back on, bolt that back on, drop it down so we can actually see a comparison and see why we've done what we've done. Now, straight away, at drive height, you can see how much of a better angle that arm is compared to that one. Just if I can get them both in. Not only that, if you look at the top of the wheel and the height that arm is now, just I suppose about 1 inch above it. If you then look on this side, it's obviously miles above it. Now that doesn't seem like that would matter at the moment, but when it's back under the truck, that's exactly where the ABS module and everything like that sits. So the lower them arms are, the better. And with it down on the floor, the angle of the arms is so much better compared to that side. And the biggest thing of all is if you look at the camber of that wheel compared to the camber on that wheel. Now at drive height now, the wheel is pretty much dead upright how it should be. Whereas before, it was, even at drive height, there was a massive, there's probably about 8 degrees camber, which is not really what you want on a big truck. So, all in all, I think that's a successful little shortening. Now, I've done them at 2 inch, I could potentially go for 3 inch, but I'll make that decision when we actually make them from scratch. For now, this should do for mock-up purposes, so we can actually get this show on the road. Because next on the list is bags. And we've got these big chuffers to go on. So we've got to try and make a room for those. Now, I've just done the other side because I realised I hadn't done that yet. And on to the next bit, which is, I have to clear out enough space here. Let me turn it up a little bit. I have to clear out enough space here to fit the bag, basically. So the first thing we're going to do is take this brake tab off, and I have just lent my hand on there. So that's hot. We're going to take this brake tab off, and then this used to be part of the bump stop. It used to come down like that. So we're going to take that off at the chassis rail, and then same on this side, take that off against that rail. Take this bump stop off, and then in theory we should be able to slit that somewhere, put a bag plate in there and mount a bag. The shock will then go back where it goes originally, and we'll have air ride on the front. Now whether it all works like that, we'll find out. Because normally you find when you do these things, the caliper will hit it, or the strut will hit it, or something will hit it. But I'm pretty hopeful on this because we have removed the front drive shaft. So we've got a load more space there than what there would normally be. So I will set you up on the tripod, and you can enjoy watching me suffer with a grinder trying to cut those brackets off. So, taking the bump stop off, I actually cut that off with the sawzall before I realised it's just bolted on underneath. So always check. I've also taken off both of these, which like I say used to be that old bump stop. So they're both off. Now I can put this in and you'll get a slightly better idea what I'm talking about. So essentially what we're going to do is weld a bottom bag mount to the arm. Now it'll be slightly further in, but I need to trim this. I'll explain. So the bottom will go straight on the arm. Now the top will have a flat plate, obviously with the holes in it, that will go at whatever angle the bottom arm is at drive height. It will go at that angle down onto this chassis. So we will cut this away at that angle and weld that in. We can then gusset on the top, but this old top mount, or spring mount, will actually work as a big gusset. So basically what we've got to do now is work out where this arm sits at drive height and trim some bits out of the way. So, although it looks like I'm just doing a bit of arts and crafts, there is a reason. Now, when you pick an airbag, you obviously know the specs of it. If you don't, you can go on the internet and find the specs. So, a Dominator 2600, I know, has a design height of 6 to 8 inches. So that's basically the height that wants to run at your drive height. So what I've done is made a 6-inch tall piece of cardboard. Now this was 8 inches across, which is the width of the bag, but that doesn't really matter at this point. So what I'm going to do with this is pop it in here, like so. Pop it in here, just to prove these things don't always work first time. Pop that in there like that. I will then use that to mark along there, cut that off, and we'll rest the bag in there and see what space we have. It is worth mentioning, I've lifted it up to what I think the drive height's going to be, based on kind of some measurements we got before we took the body off and what I just deem as enough space between the floor and your engine. So I'll get that cut off now and we'll take a look. With that bag now in there, it is quite a large bag. Now there is another option, which is the 2500, which actually is well over spec for this anyway. So what I might do is just sample one of those in there and see how that fits. Ta-da! As you can see, it's a much smaller bag, so it takes up a shed load less room. Because the main concern is this caliper. Now, Obviously we can push the bag that way, but I'll have to change the shock mount, whereas if we put a smaller bag in, that will fit without having to move anything, so that might be the way to go. But sadly, I don't have any bag plates cut anyway, so I'm going to have to go and cut those, along with the bag plates I have to cut for the Mercedes video, which is coming out next Monday, which is going to be a pretty cool one. But I'm super happy that I've managed to make a start on the Navara, because we looked at it and it's actually been 3 years, I think, just over 3 years since that come off the road. And Freya's not actually once asked, but I can tell by the way she looks at me with utter disappointment that she wants me to do my bit, because once I've done with the fab work, because obviously she can't weld, she is gonna then wrap the whole thing, or we're gonna attempt it. Look at that tiny wheel. Gonna wrap the whole thing in potentially a green. Now whether that is like a pastel green or like a dark metallic green, we're not sure. So let me know what you think in the comments about that. And then she also wants to do a lot of stuff with the interior. Now, I think these trucks are cool because they're pillarless. So with the doors open, it looks pretty fucking cool. So she's gonna redo, I think, door cards, dash, seats, the lot. So it's not just going to be lowered. There is actually a lot more to it than that. And we're hoping to actually have this done in the next kind of month, 6 weeks. Well, my part anyway. The truck probably won't come out till after Christmas, I guess. I'm not sure. I'll find out. But I need to get that done because Chris has booked Worthersea and I need to get the lorry done. So that's going to get done. Obviously this is getting done. Now the reason I've done this Navara video and the Mercedes video is to gain a bit of time on that, because I'm working on that every day, but I can't just keep filming the same stuff or it gets boring for you. So I thought if I do a couple of other videos, it gives me a chance to get ahead and get on with the more exciting stuff on that. And other exciting things like this will be coming up after, because now I've rested a wheel under it. I mean, it's just cool as hell. But I've got to leave that one here because I've got loads of stuff to get on with. But thank you for watching, and let me know if you've enjoyed the Navara video. I assume you're all going to want me to carry on and film more, but just let me know. And a little sneak preview of something which will be in the Mercedes video. Oh. See you in the next one.